Hey, what is up guys, and welcome to a brand new video. If it's your first time on the channel, then I'm Prakhar Vats. I'm a small time sim racer from India, and over the past few months of playing these games and basically sim driving, I've learned a few things. And given the title of the video, I think it's only fair to explain why I'm making this video. So I started 5 months ago on a force feedback wheel for the very first time, and also a very long dream of creating videos with the games I play. And if you've watched any of my previous league race highlight videos or any video that I've created, you will find that I have slowly and gradually improved, and I have gotten up to decent place given the time for which I have been playing. And for the purpose of this video, I've tried to break down the entire process into 5 key steps or 5 key aspects. But before I even begin, I think it's only fair to tell you that a lot or most of my sim racing experience comes from the F1 2020 game, a little from Assetto Corsa Competizione and a little from Assetto Corsa. And if you think that F1 2020 is an arcade game and the concepts of proper sim racing do not apply to that arcade game, and what I say might not add value to what you already know simply because I've not learned from a game that's considered a proper sim, and you're rigid about your opinion, then this video might not really be for you. But if you happen to want to know the things that I have to say in this video, then these are the 5 key aspects of getting up to speed as quickly as you can. And I'm sorry if it's not looking as visually appealing as it can, but hopefully I can make more sense with what I say. So starting with the big picture stuff on the left, and then gradually as we come on to the right, we'll come on hopefully into much more intricate and technical details. So starting with the approach firstly. And for this purpose I'm using an old video from my own channel, and this was about 3 or 2 days after the game was released and I was very new. So coming up into turn 1, you can see I do not even press the brake pedal fully, and although you can see the lines are pretty decent, I think, for somebody who's just started playing and is not using any assists, but the approach at this point was just to spam as many laps as possible. And I was not trying to improve or learn from any of the mistakes I was making. I was just trying to do as many laps as possible and was hoping that one of these would be a fluke and I would have a decent time. But you can see that I was not even utilizing the full brake pedal travel. Basically did not have the strength to push it all the way down, and I was not bright enough at that time to look at what I was doing wrongly and look for ways to improve that. So that was a fault in my approach at that time, and I just realized that time, mistakes and limitation play a big role in the approach you have. And if you try to do the same things again and again and try to expect different results, it's just not going to make any difference. So even if you're not playing for too many hours in a single day, if you just look at the mistakes you're making and try to improve on that on the next lap, in the next session or the next day, it just happens, and you'll realize that you're slowly leaving the mistakes behind. And it's also very important to understand that there are limitations and we cannot be the fastest drivers in just a matter of days, weeks or months. The people who we call aliens or the esports guys, basically there are thousands of hours of practice behind them. So basically if you're just always looking for mistakes you're making and trying to not make them again in the next session, as long as you're doing that, I think you're very sorted in terms of the approach you have. But moving on to the comfort now, and I think it's one of the most overlooked things when it comes to sim racing, and it's very, very important in my opinion. I think if you don't have the right seating position, you would not be able to extract as much as you can with your equipment. And in my case, I had to chop off some wood from my table to have the best fit for the steering, to make it feel as sturdy as possible. And my pedals, as you can see, are resting on a wooden block, which itself is resting on 2 or 3 bricks. So it's not the best, to be honest, but I think it does the job. And even if you are on a controller, a good comfortable seating position will help you find that extra bit of consistency. But coming up onto the monitor and field of view settings, which I mentioned, and I think it's the most subjective thing there is to sim racing. And I think in my opinion, if you find comfort in one particular setting, you'll find pace in that as well. A good way is to find what other people are doing, what the fast guys are doing, and over time just making small modifications to arrive at a combination that you like the most. But now coming up to one of the most important things, and that is just replication. And by replication I mean just doing what the fast guys are doing. And for any game you play, I think there are a lot of people who would be creating videos, and a lot of them are very, very fast, and it makes all the sense in the world to just do what they're doing, just copy their setups, copy their lines, copy their braking points and steering inputs. And that is, in my opinion, the fastest way to learn how to get fast on a particular track or game. And although it sounds a little counterintuitive, if you want to get faster on your own, But in my very humble opinion, I think being fast is like a feeling, and once you set a particular lap time, you know what it takes to reach that lap time. And it doesn't matter if you copy someone else's driving style and reach that particular lap time, but once you've reached there, you can slightly and slowly make small adjustments to the setup, to the driving style, and to the lines you take, and create your own way of reaching to that lap time. But reaching there first is very important, in my opinion. And every game has some really fast guys, and for F1 there are all these esports guys who have their Twitch and YouTube channels. And for ACC, I think I personally have watched a lot of Jardier, and although I only have 50 hours on the game, just watching him has helped me get up to pace a lot faster than I would have if I had not come across his channel. So I would suggest that watch a lot of fast guys and try to replicate what they're doing, because that will help you a lot in getting up to pace quickly. But once you've watched all these fast people and have looked at their lap times and even tried to replicate their lines and braking points, you'll realize that you're still way too far off their pace, and that is simply because you have not understood why they're doing the things that they are. And although your laps would look pretty similar, they're just carrying that little extra speed through corners because of the better understanding of the lines and the balance of the car as a whole. It all just adds up, corner after corner after corner, and I think that is all that is responsible for the difference in your lap time. So, and just to show you what exactly do I mean by the balance of the car, so you can see me accelerating and braking like an idiot, but when I'm doing that, you can see how the weight shifts from the front of the car to the rear of the car when I brake, and that also happens from side to side when there's aggressive lateral movement. And that is something that you definitely need to understand if you want to get up to pace, because when you understand what the car is doing and why is it doing so when you give it certain inputs, that is when you understand how the balance shifts of the car, and that is something that is very important if you want to carry more and more speed through corners. And going back to one of my older videos on the channel, and you can see the brake input meter, and you can see how linearly I come off of it and then how linearly I come on throttle, and the understanding of this simply has helped me gain a lot of time and consistency. And if you can master that, I'm still not perfect, I'm still not even relatively good, but if you can master that, I think that is where there is the most time to be found. And once you have done all of the previous stuff, all you have tried to replicate the fast guys, you've also understood why they're doing the things that they are, you'll come down to the last step there is to getting up to speed, and that is just practicing or focusing on the areas in which you're lagging behind. And I've put trail braking in all caps because this is something that you definitely need to master, because in my very humble opinion, I think trail braking is responsible for more than 50% of the pace difference you'll have to the faster guys. And if you can practice that, if you can master that without taking too much time, then you'll definitely be very fast very soon. And once you've done all of this, you'll find even more pace in combining all of these concepts with the right lines and just in general the basic concepts of early and late apexes. And after all of this, you'll understand how the car behaves when you change the setups, and you will more often than not find that a setup you thought initially to be undrivable is the fastest one around that particular track. And you have to find that balance between a car that is undrivable and a car that is barely drivable but is very fast, and you always try to push your limits to find the most pace while constantly being on the limit. But coming now finally to the last two things I have to add, and the first one of those is getting rid of assists. And if you're just starting out, even if you're just starting out, always try to go without assists, because even if you lose the car initially, even if you have a lot of crashes or a hard time keeping the car on track, you'll find that once you get past that mental barrier, you'll find much more pace and consistency and definitely fun when you race. And even if you look at the fast guys in any of the games, you'll see that they always prefer to keep the assists off, or even in ACC the electronic interference, as limited as possible, because that just limits the potential of the pace you have. And to get rid of that mentally first and then in practice just gains you a lot of time, pace and consistency. But now for the final point which I have, and that is always prefer consistency over speed. And what I mean by that is always try to have an idea of what to expect out of yourself before you enter a race, and just try to keep hitting that consistent lap time rather than going for an all-out lap initially and then making mistakes on the laps that follow. But that is pretty much all I have to add for this video. Do let me know in the comment section down below what are the things that you agree with, and if you happen to disagree with any of the things that I've said, then do let me know. And if you have any feedback, suggestions or requests, then I would love to hear them in the comment section. Give this one a like and also subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that I'm doing good work and it keeps me really motivated to keep bringing you videos of this kind. But thank you for watching, and until the next video, until the next time, just stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next one.